Hello, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me. So I have been sorting my bags out to see what I'm going to let go because as I have told you, I have too many handbags and I only want to have handbags here that I absolutely love and enjoy. So I've gone through all of those to sort out for the vlog sale. I then need to film an updated closet tour. So before we do that, today I am going to sort out all of these. So I'm going to show you how I store my bags, how I'm going to get these back on the shelves. I'm going to also tell you the things that you should do to store your bags that I don't do because I'm probably a little bit lazy and don't put them back properly whenever I'm using them, but I'll give you those tips to look after your bags as best you can to keep them in the best condition that they can possibly be. And we've all of those, Dale and Meredith in the background there. We've all of these to get through, so I'm going to spin the camera around and let's get started. Before putting all of my bags back on the shelves, I have cleaned all of the shelves. I just use normal furniture polish and a microfiber cloth. There's maybe something fancy dancy you can get, but that works for me. I just clean them down to take the dust off them. I get asked if I dust my bags regularly. No. I don't. I'm very bad at that. I can't really remember the last time I dusted my bags, which is not the best confession. I also get asked quite a lot if you should store your bags in your dust bags. You probably should to stop the dust going on them. I don't because I like to look at them. I like to come in here, I film in here, I like to come in here and just visit, and I like to see the colours. So for me, I've never stored them in dust bags. If you do store them in dust bags, obviously you're going to protect them better than I am. You're going to keep them from getting dirty. You're also going to keep the sunlight off them. So my window here is blacked out all the time, so as there's not sunlight getting in here. Somebody did say the videos are quite dark. It looks like a dark cupboard. Someone else had told me that the lighting was too bright, so I turned the lighting down, so that's why. But the bright lighting that I use when I'm filming, which is turned down and maybe needs to be turned back up, is not on unless I'm filming, so it's not shining on these. These lights that are in my shelving, when this was being built, this was purpose built, the person building it was told what it was for, so the LED lighting that's in these shouldn't damage the bags. Now this has been done, I think now for, is it maybe a year or so, and all of the bags are fine, there's been no impact on them. But if you are close to a window and you're not putting your bags in the dust bag, I would keep them out of the sunlight. Keep a blackout blind or some sort of blind down to protect them, or put them in their dust bags. Another reason for me with the dust bags is I'm quite lazy in that I don't put my bags back properly, even with what I'm going to tell you that I do. So I'm never going to take them in and out of dust bags and put the dust bags back and sort all of that out. Mostly it's because I like to look at them is why they're not in their dust bags. I also got a comment asking me if you should have your bags in glass shelves. So shelves that have a glass door. That comment was left on an old video. I used to have my handbags in a cupboard that had a glass doors on it, which protected obviously more from the dust. The handbag collection grew a little bit and then this room got done, so there's no doors on this, so they just sit in here. Also, a lot of people will tell you to put something underneath them, to put either your dust bag underneath them or to put a towel or some sort of paper towel that is going to protect the bottom of them. I don't do that, I just set mine on the shelf, but you will hear advice that tells you there should be something underneath them. You'll hear lots of advice. One thing I would say is don't keep them in the boxes. If you have your bags and you put them in your dust bags and in the box, they can sweat and it can actually damage the leather and it can damage the canvas or the fabric or anything in your bag. So I wouldn't put them in the dust bag and put them in the box. If you do keep them in the dust bag, I would take them out every so often to air them if you're not using them, to just give them a little bit of breathing space rather than being in there all of the time. But boxes and dust bags, please don't do that because that can damage. Another thing I get asked about storing my bags is whether or not I keep the stickers on them. Now, if you watch my good friend Meredith hates stickers on her bags. As soon as they arrive, they come off. I used to be tempted to keep the stickers on mine because I thought I was keeping my bag in a better condition and maybe not scratching it. But the sticker on the hardware can actually damage the hardware. Now, this is not the best example to show you because I use this a lot and I go partying with this. So there's a lot of fingerprints and marks on my hardware. But if you keep the stickers on these, when you eventually take them off and you peel the stickers off, it can leave a glue residue and it can actually tarnish your hardware and mark it. I also know that there's a lot of marketing for companies that are producing stickers to put on your hardware that's meant to protect your hardware that isn't the actual company making the bag. I've never used those. I would urge caution. I've been asked if I would use them and show them in videos a lot by companies. I won't. I would urge caution if you're considering doing that because you don't know what's in them. Even the stickers and the adhesive and the glue that like Louis Vuitton, for example, use, if you leave them on long enough, can tarnish your hardware. So just be aware of that if you're keeping your stickers on. Okay, I generally display my bags in the way I like to look at them. Some people will display them with all of the same brand, say all of the Louis Vuitton together, all of the same style of bag, or in colour groupings. Mine will probably be in a mix of bags being together or colours being together. It's how I like it. So there's no real rhyme or reason to it. And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I think you display your bags how it works for you, how you're going to enjoy looking at them and how you're going to see all of them. I am very bad that if I have something, even something very expensive, and I put it away like in a box or on a shelf that I don't see, I will forget about it, which is a real shame. And that's not the way to do it. Now, these bags I keep stuffed. This one is my pink version, which is the Meredith, and this one is stuffed with tissue paper. I don't actually use an organizer in my sequence baguettes because I like whenever you take the stuffing out of these and you use them. For example, when you take this out, it becomes really floppy. And that's the way I like to use these baguettes. So I don't keep a handbag organizer in them. I do have organizers in some of my bags and I'll show you which ones. But I do, to keep their shape, keep them stuffed. If you have any bag that's kind of soft or squidgy, when you're not using it, I would recommend keeping either the organizer in it or keeping it stuffed. There are some bags you need to be careful with organizers because if the organizer, for example, hits, if I lift the Birkin, I still don't have an organizer in mine, but if you lift the Birkin, there are some organizers, and I've seen examples of this, that if you keep it in it and say the organizer comes to about here, you can eventually start to see a line in the leather where the organizer has been. So if you're going to buy one for a bag that it doesn't fit exactly, or the leather is going to potentially show it, just do a bit of research on that before you decide which one to go. But if they're soft bags like this to keep their shape, I would say stuff them rather than leave them just the way that I would wear them. I think it keeps the condition better for longer. Chanel Mini in the lambskin. I am notoriously bad at this. If you have lambskin bags like this mini, you should, I'm trying to see if I can catch to show you the indentation, you should keep this felt in it to protect it, because this will press down and you will get indentations in your bag. It happens, it's just the nature of the leather. If you also want to reduce the indentations on your bag pulling down, don't turn the lock, because when you put this in and turn the lock, now I can be a bit of a hypocrite because this is what you should do, but if many of you watch the bags behind me in my videos, my locks are turned because I generally do it and forget about it. But if you want to put less pressure on your bag, if you don't turn the lock, this will push down if it's not locked, it will push down less on the leather on the inside. And it will therefore put less pressure on your bag, pushing down against the leather, and there's a less chance it's going to mark. That's if you're being very, very thorough and trying to protect them. I keep dropping the felt. This is why I don't be good at putting all these things back. But you should put the felt in it to protect it, and you should not lock this. Also, the chain that sits on top of it, you should wrap something around it. So either get a piece of felt, get your dust bag, something that you wrap around this so as you don't have the chain sitting on the leather. And I'll show you an example where I haven't done that and what can happen. Mel in Melbourne, I think, actually gets the straps that you put on seat belts, the Velcro ones, and I think Samorga maybe make them now. I've never actually bought any because, again, I don't use them most of the time. But even your dust bags, put something around this and it will protect sitting on the top, because this is soft leather, especially if it's lambskin, and the chain will mark it. If I show you And this is caviar. So it can even happen with caviar. It's going to be more susceptible if it's lambskin. But you can see on my rose gold mini the chain marks here. Now, this is because I put this bag in a suitcase and I didn't wrap the chain. So I don't always follow my own advice. I fully admit that. But this is what can happen. So if you have the chain on your bag and any pressure applied, you can see these little indents here where the chain has pushed into my bag, even in caviar, which is a lot more durable than lambskin, and left these marks. So to try and avoid that, you should wrap your handles like this, so as when they sit on your bag, they're not going to damage the leather. If you have a Cocoa Crush, which is this that has the ball, I pull the chain out enough so as the ball sits at the back and sits on the shelf down, because that's heavy. I even find that heavy when I'm wearing it. So if you had that on your leather, that is going to, I think, cause an indentation or mark it. So I pull this down so as it sits at the back and isn't actually sitting on the bag. This one I don't have stuffed. It's quite soft. I probably should have stuffed. You can see this one has been used and the stuffing just helps them keep their shape. On the Lady Dior bags, I have the mini and the small. I did watch a video once of somebody who kept the paper, or they fashioned some sort of paper, and when they stored their bag, they wrapped the letters from the Dior charm in the paper so as it didn't sit against the O at the back. I've never done that and I'm never going to do that. It's probably something I'm not going to be paying enough time to do, but these do scratch. So these letters will scratch each other and will scratch the one at the back. So an option if you want to try and protect those is to wrap these ones at the front to stop them hitting the one at the back. It is a bit fiddly, but I have seen it done. Another reason I'm bad at putting the felt back in my bags is I don't like the look of it. I like to see the bag, even though I know that's much better for the bag. It just takes away from the pretty, but if we're talking about storing them properly and protecting them, the felt works. On a Capucine's bag, and it's probably easier on the bigger versions, you can train these bags if you don't want the LV. Obviously mine's not discreet anyway, but you can train these bags that the flap sits over and you have the fleur-de-lis here, which is a lot less in your face. So if you had one that wasn't this and was a neutral colour, for example, you can train that to sit it over. If you wanted to do that when you're storing the bag, to get it used to sitting over, you should leave your flap out like this. If you want it to be used on the inside, and if you want the bag to kind of keep its shape and stay nice and tight, the way I like to wear mine, I keep mine tucked in the flap. There's a little slot here for tucking. If I could work my fingers. There's a little slot here for tucking the flap in whenever you're using it, if you want it on the inside. So I store mine with the flap in that. It probably does mean this part of the leather is going to get indentations from the inside of the flap, but I would prefer it sitting the way I want it to sit, so I keep mine on the inside on all of my Capucines and the mini Capucines. If you have one of the classic flaps in the medium or the bigger sizes, you maybe do want to consider not storing it like this, because these are the bags that have the zip on the inside from this very useless little secret love letter pocket, and they have these chains. But what that does, if you can see kind of reflecting, you have an indentation from the chains here, and you can have one from the zip as well. So if you're pressing down on this and putting more pressure, you're going to get deeper indentations on your marks. Now, it doesn't bother me because it's the inside of the flap, and who's looking at that? You can see there, that's the indentation from the chain. And if you have less pressure on that, if it's not being pulled down as tight, then it's going to put slightly less pressure. I think it's still going to happen because the flap will still be sitting on it. It just won't be pushing down as much. So it's something maybe to try if you have one of these bags. You will also hear people tell you that when you're storing a Chanel Classic flap to keep its shape, you should rotate the side that you store it on. So you should have it on its side at times. You should have it at its bottom. You should have it on this side. I don't think it would sit on the top, but you should turn these around. I have to say I've never done that ever. I think mine's in pretty good shape. I don't really see the need, and I'm probably not disciplined enough to come in and turn it around, but I have seen videos recommending that just to even out the use on the bottom and keep the shape. Something I've never done, but just making you aware of it. If I was practicing what I preach, I would store my bags without the straps attached to them. So if you have a strap like this that is detachable, I would say without the strap attached, for a couple of reasons. The attachment of where you're attaching the strap to your hardware is going to rub against each other, and it's going to cause minor little scratches. It's also going to be putting pressure on the part that it's attached to. So if you have this sitting as a weight pulling down on it, it's also adding that pressure. Also, when you go to try and store your bag or set your bag, if the strap is attached and it's not one that easily goes inside, it's more awkward to store the bag. Mine, you will see sometimes thrown in with the strap still on because I've just come in, took it off and put it down. But if I'm doing it properly, I would take off the straps and I would store those separately so as they're not making it difficult for this to sit properly and they're not putting pressure on the hardware. Also with the Dior saddlebag, I store this coming off the edge. It's probably easier to show you on, say, this shelf. I store it like this, so the D is coming off the edge and it's not getting pushed underneath. It's not getting scrapes on it from hitting the side. Just if you do have a way to store it that this is not getting any pressure or marks, it'll help protect your hardware. Another one that I have obviously worn, came home and not detached the strap from is the bigger saddlebag. But I used to store this on a hook, and I just want to show you why that can have its difficulties. Now the strap's off it, I used to store this on a handbag hook, and I put this on the hook and it hung like that, and it looked fabulous, and it meant that the bag was hanging in its shape. The strap wasn't sitting on it, or it wasn't getting like this, and it looked, to me at the time, I thought the best way to store the bag. Maybe because I didn't use the bag every single day, I then went to use the bag, and when I lifted it off, the strap sat like this, and it had a kink in it where my finger is. If you can imagine, that's the hook. It had a kink from sitting on the handbag hook for too long. So I don't store it like that anymore. It took a while for that to come out of it. You can still kind of almost see where it was. It took a while for that to come out of it. So I don't store these on the handbag hooks anymore. They do look better on the handbag hook because you see the full drop of the bag and it's not lying down flat, but just be aware it can cause that kink. And when I then was trying to use the bag, that annoyed me. And if I did put the strap and wear it crossbody, the kink annoyed me. So I don't do that anymore. And this one I will also store the same way as the pink with the D coming off one of the edge of the shelves. The Chanel 19, again, the chain on this, which gives it the top handle, is quite heavy. I never wrap mine because I'm lifting this and using it, but if you were storing this properly, you should wrap this because it sits down here, and there are times that I've used it, can't really see it on the camera, that I've noticed a bit of an indentation where it's been hanging, or on the back if it's been hanging down the back. Now because this is crumpled and it's goat skin, you don't see it on this as bad, but it is there, and if I haven't used this for a while, I've noticed that. Because this is a soft kind of squidgy pillow bag, I store this with its handbag organizer in it, and you can see something that my son made for me, a little blue heart, and that would be here. This is fabulous. Every time I look in these bags, I seem to be finding money that I didn't know was there. But I store mine with the handbag organizer in it. This one I think is from Samorga, and it's to keep the shape in this bag just because it's a squidgy, puffy bag. I just like when it's sitting up to keep a bit of a better shape on it. I keep that in when I'm using it as well. This is not a bag that I use as squidgy as I do the Fendi sequins. I keep the organizer in it all the time. The papillon bag, or bags that have a chain like this, can be difficult to store. I don't take the chain off this. I am, again, not disciplined enough to take it off it. Every time I use this bag, I like the chain on it. I like the look of it. So how I store this bag, and also with it being a cylinder, so as it sits in place, is I have a handbag hook. This one is from my good friend Dale, Dale's Addiction. Check her channel out. I think she has some of these left in stock. I use this to store it. I put the hook on, and then I attach the bag with the chain to the hook, and it makes it sit like this. So you can, if I just bring that down a bit, you can see the bag is sitting perfectly. the chain is up on the hook, and that's generally how I store that. This Chanel Mini being a tweed is fully stuffed. This is just to make sure this retains its shape. I have that one stuffed pretty tight, so as whenever it sits that it keeps its shape and it's not getting squidgy. Any soft bags I just recommend stuffing. Also, if you have a Lady Dior and you want it to sit properly, you can see the pink one in the side over there, the handles fall down, one of the annoyances of this bag. But if someone did tell me it's meant to look like the CD, and that's why. So if you turn it like this, you have the CD of Christian Dior, so that is quite cool. But if you want your handles to sit up, you need to tie them. So you need to tie a ribbon or something across them up here, so as when you set the bag down, this will sit tied. Again, not that disciplined. I generally don't. When mine sit, the handles fall down, but if you want it to do it properly, that's what you're meant to do. The Louis Vuitton Speedy from Pharrell's collection very helpfully came with its own pillow, and if you've watched my unboxing video of that, you'll see that it has its own pillow to keep its shape. And then I have the little pouch that comes with it inside in its dust bag. I haven't really decided where I want this one to sit yet, but I will definitely be keeping this because it's a soft leather bag, keeping it with the pillow in it to keep its shape when it's not being used. And I just think that's also makes it look better because you can see it the way it's meant to be, but definitely that one's keeping its pillow. So we'll try it here. I haven't really worked out where this one's going yet, but I definitely love it. Another thing to show you just about the petite mals, I keep mine with the locks in, as you can see, but you can see it best on this one because the leather is lighter. Might still be hard to show up. Where this has been kept in the lock like this, you can see there is a very slight indentation here. Maybe not gonna see that, but there is a very slight indentation where you can almost make out the shape of the strap coming across it and hitting these sides of the leather. So if you really wanted to be careful about it, again, you wouldn't put the lock in. The lock's always in mine, but I'm just pointing out maybe some of the better things to do that I don't do. Another block from Chanel, again being a soft fabric bag, that is fully stuffed just to keep a bit of shape on it. If that's not stuffed, it just kind of all collapses in a bit. So any bag that's soft, I have stuffing in mine. Keep changing these about as I go. There's no rhyme or reason to mine. It's just where I want them at the time. And that's kind of how I do it. You probably would see a lot of other people with maybe a lot more organisation, but this is just how I like it. If you have one of these little Louis Vuitton trunks, the miniature ones that are card cases, I keep the chain tucked in mine. This chain does come off, and probably if you were being really looking after them, I should detach this, and then it won't be marking against the hardware, and just I could still keep it in it without it being detached like this, or sorry, without it being attached, and just leave it in at the bottom, and then it won't be marking the hardware. But again, I don't always do what I know I should do. And by the way, I never dress. I know these come with felt, and it comes that you can put the felt back in it and it'll look after your hardware. Birkins are very expensive, so if you want to look after them properly, you probably should put the felt in. I never do. I also never close this bag. I don't think it's been closed since I bought it and showed it to you guys. So the felt for me is never on, and the locks are never closed. This sequenced Chanel that you can just see in the corner there is still pretty new, so its felt's still on it because I haven't used it really yet. But let's see how long I stick with keeping the felt on. On sequins like that, you should keep the felt on because the flap coming over it could damage or wear away at the sequences underneath. So this would have the pressure of the flap. So a sequins bag like this should have the felt on it. Let's see how long I stay doing it. But for a bag like that, it's one, if you're going to be like me and not take the time really to put the felt back in, if you're going to do it on any of them, lambskin, sequenced or delicate fabrics are the ones to try and be disciplined on. Neither of these two Chanels have organisers in them, and they're not stuffed. The Prada is structured enough. If any of them need stuffing, probably that one. The Alma isn't stuffed, and neither is the Prada at the back. This Christmas jumper bag, as we all call it, has both stuffing and it has an organiser in it. It's very soft. It is like jumper material. I think it's cashmere. So this bag would have absolutely no shape without it, so I do keep those stuffed. And I finally contacted leather surgeons about getting the chain extended on this one. So that is how I store my bags. There's definitely a lot of things in there that you maybe should do that I don't do. My Neverfull is always full with all of my work stuff. If you were going to store your Neverfull and try and look after it, it should probably have a big pillow in it to try and keep the shape of it. And I do have one hanging, my old one's hanging over the door handles there. Probably not the best for the handles, but I think we've all established my Neverfull is a workhorse, so not the best way looked after by me, but probably should have a pillow or stuffing to keep its shape if you're not using it every day. I am going to turn you around. I think that's everything. Also the Atelier Gust bag. It's away again downstairs with my work stuff that I've taken crossbody with me. It's generally downstairs all the time, so it isn't really stored in any way. But I'm going to spin you around to give you a quick look at this. Again, just the way I like it, and that's how I look after my bags. Or maybe don't look after some of my bags. So this is the finished product of where they are for now. No doubt if you watch my videos, you'll see this changing in the background. Because I come in, grab them, use them, don't put them away properly, don't take the straps off. But for now we will revel in the fact it's just been done, and this is what we look like today. Thank you so much for watching this. I hope some of this has been interesting or given you some tips or useful. If it has in any way been enjoyable, please do consider giving it a thumbs up. If you haven't yet, please do consider subscribing. And if you're not done with me yet, I'm going to leave another video for you on the screen to enjoy. Please take care, and I will see you again in the next one.